Hello everyone, it's Matt here, and today I'm going to be talking about the Audio-Technica LP120 USB turntable right there behind me. So let's go take a look at it. Alright, so let's lift up the lid. Here she is. Audio-Technica ATLP120 USB direct drive professional turntable. For those of you who may not know, the direct drive, what that means is there's a motor directly attached to the platter here, and I'll show you. Here's the platter underneath. The motor's attached to here directly underneath, and that's what spins it. With a belt drive turntable, the motor will sit off to one side, let's say up here, and there'll be a belt connecting the motor over to the platter, looping around it to make it spin. There's pros and cons to both of those. With direct drive, you do often get better stability in terms of speed. There is something to be said for that. As you'll see here, there's a quartz lock button. That just means it will lock the speed in, and it uses a quartz crystal to very, very accurately maintain the speed at 33 or 45 RPM, depending on, what record you're playing. Now, speaking of speed, this turntable does have the ability to play 78s. If you push both buttons at once, it switches it to 78 mode, which makes it go very fast indeed. I don't actually own any 78s, so we're just gonna leave that. You may notice, those of you who have this turntable, that this is not the original mat that came with it. Originally it came with a felt mat. I just replaced it. I just preferred a rubber mat. That's all there was to it, really. With a rubber mat, sometimes you get slightly better vibration dampening, but it's pretty minimal. You're not going to notice it too much. Now, this turntable is styled on the Technics SL1200 turntable from back in the day. A classic turntable. It was used by a lot of DJs, probably still is used by some. And although it is similar in terms of looks, and not a million miles off in terms of performance, it's still not up there with the SL1200. The SL1200 has a stronger motor. So while with this being a direct drive turntable, you can easily stop it and move it around, no problem. It doesn't quite have the same pickup speed as the Technics would do, but it's still pretty decent. You'll see here there's a strobe light right there. The little dots here, this just tells you the speed. It helps you to measure the accuracy of the speed. You'll get a little guide here telling you which dots to follow depending on your region, whether your power is 50 hertz or 60 hertz. In the US over here, we're 60 hertz. So that's what we'll be looking for the bottom two. In this case, at 33 RPM. I don't know how well this shows up on the camera, but it's pretty solid. The stylus that comes with this is actually not the one that I have installed right now, but I will show it to you. Well, the cartridge is an AT95E. It's a budget cartridge, but it's very well regarded, especially for the price point. This is the original stylus that came with it. I upgraded it to one that had a slightly better frequency response, but the one it comes with is perfectly fine. Like I said, it is a respected cartridge and stylus. The cartridge is still the same one that I had on it before. Right here we have a slider control. This is to adjust make little fine tunings to the speed of the turntable. So if you enable the quartz lock, then this won't do anything, because it's locked at a particular speed. But you can also change direction. If I start the turntable here, you'll see there's a direction change. Right now it's forward. If I change it to backwards, and forwards again. And again, the SL1200 is a little quicker with that. This is still pretty good. I have this set to 2 grams of tracking force. That's the recommended tracking force for this particular cartridge. Similarly, the anti-skate is set to 2 grams of anti-skate, and anti-skate is just essentially so you have like a cylindrical force pulling the stylus towards the record as it spins, and the anti-skating essentially pulls it back a little bit, tries to keep it pretty steady in the groove, so it's not trying to constantly keep being dragged towards the center so much. A couple of other things that are definitely worth mentioning. The LP120 has a built-in preamp, and if you're not too familiar with what that is, on their own, vinyl records are very quiet, essentially. They have a very low signal. So if you just try to hook these up to speakers or even an amplifier or a receiver, it's going to sound quiet and it's going to sound kind of off. It's going to sound tinny, the music. A preamp is a little way of giving the signal a boost before you then amplify it with your speakers. So whether you want to plug them into a receiver, kind of like that, but especially if you want to just plug them into speakers directly, then you've already got the preamp built into the turntable, which is a nice feature to have. So you're just provided the speakers are powered, they're amplified. All you need to do is make sure the preamp's switched on, run your RCA cables out to your speakers, and you should be good to go. So that's definitely a nice plus to have. You can bypass the preamp as well. It doesn't have to be switched on. Again, also a nice little feature. And as the name of the turntable implies, it does have a USB output as well. And if you're looking to rip your files or to rip your records to digital files on your laptop, on your computer, then that's it's a nice bonus to have. You don't have to use it. It's on the back of the turntable. But if you do want to use it, then again, it's a nice little extra to have. So let's maybe talk about any negatives about the turntable, because if you follow my channel, you're going to very quickly see that I'm about to replace this turntable, and I'm going to have an unboxing video for that. And it's not because I think it's a bad turntable. It's just one of those things where, first you kind of learn to walk and then you start to run. I sort of look at it like that. And the turntable has a lot of features. I'm looking to replace it with a turntable that doesn't have quite as many features, but will maybe give me slightly better sound. The sound on this is good. It is good. It comes with a decent cartridge. It's not amazing, but it is very good, especially given that it's a budget cartridge. But again, it's one of those things where you don't necessarily want to run before you can walk. And if you're just getting back into vinyl, like I'd had a long, more than 20 years a hiatus from vinyl. I had it when I was a kid, when I was a teenager. In fact, before that, really, I moved to cassettes and then to CDs. Then things started going digital, or with the MP3s and so on. And then I've come full circle back to vinyl. But anyway, the point is that it was a good reintroduction for me into vinyl. And so if you look at it that way, and if you're thinking about a Crosley or something like that, a suitcase turntable, if that's what you can afford, then absolutely, by all means, then go for it. But if you can wait, or if you do have the flexibility or the money to spend a bit more, and you have a budget that, let's say, is in the $250 range, because that's about what this should set you back, then it's hard to find much that's better than the LP120. And again, they do now have an X version, which is similar to this. I'm not too sure of all the differences. I think one difference is it doesn't have adjustable vertical, and I didn't get into this because it's getting a bit more technical, but essentially where you can change the height of the tone arm. The regular LP120 has that. The X version, as I understand it, does not. Maybe somebody else can comment on any other differences that the two have, but yeah. And again, any sort of slight negatives are the fact that it's a $250 turntable. It's going to sound like a $250 turntable. It's not going to sound like a $500 turntable or a $1,000 turntable. You're going to get what you pay for. You can upgrade the stylus. I think the cartridge is good. I think the stylus is decent, but it's worth upgrading. I think mine cost about $60 to upgrade. I got one from LP Gear, which was I think I made a video about that a year or two ago, and that was a definite improvement in terms of the frequency response in the upper frequencies. And it's very easy to upgrade. It has a removable head shell. If you want to replace the head shell, you can replace the cartridge, you can replace the stylus. So there's a lot you can do with it. And again, you can adjust the height of the tone arm. It really is, in terms of being a very solid workhorse and a very flexible one at that, I think you can't go too far wrong. So I'll leave it at that. And yeah, thank you for watching. I just kind of wanted to uh, before I retire it, I wanted to kind of sing its praises because it has been a good turntable to me, and the fact that I'll be replacing it doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means that again, you take a couple of steps up the ladder, and at some point you want to step up a little more. That's just all it is. So if you'd like to buy it, I definitely recommend it. And that price point, you're looking at other turntables by maybe U-Turn, Fluence, companies like that, which again are good. Once you get to sort of the $200 to $300 range, you're now looking at very solid starter turntables. So anyway, always appreciate everyone's comments. If you'd like to subscribe, please hit the button below. And until next time, bye bye.